Hi, I'm Patrick Sampson, and welcome to Altrove. So the name Altrove came for the album. In Italian, it means somewhere else. And it was born about 4 years ago, and I ended up kind of putting the project off for a while and writing a whole bunch of stuff that didn't necessarily have to do with Altrove or what I thought it was at the time. And then I slowly, I came back to the idea, the name really had to stay, and we ended up recording it at home, in the home studio. And it's just kind of a series of songs and stories that came from a lot of different times in my life over the last 4 or 5 years. So Altrove kind of came from this whole idea that the songs were coming from somewhere else, because as I was growing up, and still am, people were asking me, how were you writing this stuff, or what was the process? And a lot of these ideas just kind of came out of nowhere, I suppose. And that's kind of how I pieced a lot of these songs together. Some of them were really personal life experiences, and some of them were like blimps and dreams that I kind of daydreamed or something, I don't really know. And I think it's pretty special. The feedback on just some of the singles has been beautiful, so I'm excited to share the rest of it with everybody. So the making of Altrove was a lot different than recording my first album, because recording this one I was way more involved. When I recorded the first one, I had just started playing guitar about 8 months before, and I still had I only knew 5 chords, and I knew how to play rhythm, but this one, all the lead guitar is me, the rhythm guitar is me. This was just a really different adventure to kind of go on, and I think it shows. I was much more involved in terms of the music and the composition of the songs, and the people who played with me did a lot to bring them to life. My dad recorded, Vince did the mixing, Rick Bergeron played drums, and we had a blast. So, Skies in Barcelona is kind of a funny one. I was just talking with my dad the other day. When I wrote it, it was basically just based off of this conversation I had had with a friend of mine, and her and I were just catching up about all the traveling she had done or I had done, and just life really. And I hadn't talked to her for a few years. And basically, after touching base a little bit, she told me she had been all over the world, Barcelona and Spain, Madrid, all of these places. And I just remember sitting down and thinking that was really cool. And we kind of just hit it off in a really cool catch-up kind of way. And when we were discussing it, I came back. I started recording the song just on my voice memos on my phone. And that the first line, "Let me tell you a story about that year," it kind of just felt like a story song, and it kind of felt like a conversation. And it ended up being one that I really loved, but I didn't know a lot. And then I started showing other people, and the response was surprising. It was one of the favorites that was growing, and I thought it was just really this kind of gentle, sweet story song, conversation song. And so far, it actually seems to be one of the favorites, so I'm really happy to hear that. I love when that happens. So Red Room is my personal favorite on the album. It's actually the simple, probably the most simple one on there. It's just me and the acoustic guitar, and for a while I stayed in Oneida, New York with a friend of mine, Vince Brown, who actually recorded bass and did a lot of the mixing, most of the mixing for the album. I stayed with him, and I wrote that while I was there. I stayed in this little red room, and it kind of just felt like, one night I started playing it, I kind of started having this conversation lyrically with the walls of the room. The bed was red. It was really cool. And for some reason I really resonated with that. And it felt like the whole premise of that one was the room itself. I stayed up all night and wrote songs there, and it felt like the room knew me better than most people, just because I was opening up to it in this weird, the walls aren't really alive type of way. But I think that's where the maybe some of the sweetness and the sincerity of the song came from. So Mistfell's one of my very favorites, because it was a song that was born in New Hampshire, in the mountains of Vermont. I went to visit one of my friends, and we stayed at his house, and we visit him quite often, twice a year. The song kind of came from, it's actually not from my perspective until the very end, but the idea was I was watching my friend and his girlfriend, who I had just met, and they were this sweetheart couple, and it felt like I was watching a play, like I was kind of this extra in this really special kind of summertime thing that was really fun. And while we were playing a board game, she actually said out loud, as a joke, "I'm only here for the interesting," and I kind of wrote that down because I knew that was going to be a song. So the following days I had finished it, and I didn't know what to call it, so I called it Mistfell because I was driving to Dunkin' Donuts like the next morning trying to figure out how to finish the song, and it was misting, and I was like, cool, we'll call the play Mistfell, which ended up being the title of the song, and that's track 1. To everybody who listens, to everybody that's connected or is connecting with the songs, if you just found me, thank you for listening. The following over the last few months has just grown a ton, and the support has been incredible, so I appreciate you all. I can't really put into words what it means to have that many people to interact with around the world, and it feels like we're all connected in a way, so thank you very much for listening. Basically, other than thanking all of you for listening and taking the time to take a listen to the music and enjoy it, I hope. I want to thank my dad, of course, Vince Brown, Rick Bergeron for helping me put the album together. We all worked really hard, and this is like 4 years of my life, and I'm kind of giving it away to you, so I hope somehow you take it and can make something of your own with it. Also, Emery Joyce, who's behind the camera all the time, she shoots my photos for me and is editing this whole project together, so thank you, Emery, in advance. But she also designed the album cover and the back of the album and everything, which I thought was totally wicked. So we touched base, I sent her the music, she listened to it, and I just let her go. And creatively, she came up with this really cool design, so it's pretty special. Thank you all for listening. Altrove, the new album, is available on all major platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, etc. And physical copies and t-shirts will be available on the website as well. Thank you.